spine. Niggas snitch the cut time. 21. We the Fox 5 gang. Niggas getting whacked, snitching on mine. Facts. Back it up.
So I'm about to hit you with kind of a hot take or a hot opinion is that I kind of think that BMF was better than Squid Games. I know everyone is like just hear it out, hear me out for a second. Obviously, BMF, this is probably the worst seasons. It is. It's the worst season of BMF ever that they did. And it was kind of upsetting and also offensive, like they did us like that. I know they have their drama with that's going behind the scenes. Um, but it kind of still added to it because you knew why. Um, Compared to Squid Games, and these are two shows that I watch, by each other because usually when they do the new shows, they do two, just like they did um our new season. Just gonna explain why, and I feel like one reason why that BMF was kind of better, even though the writing, like obviously the writing and the execution was worse than Squid Game. Squid Games did a lot of money. You can see like the money they put into it, the work they put into it. You can't say it was particularly like bad in terms of writing, in terms of the production. But I think what Squid Games did and what they went wrong, kind of, is that they put so much money into it and so much into the art direction. You wanted the story to kind of be the same or different. You wanted something kind of like moving, which it's also war season, which it didn't really move. It didn't get really invoke feeling, which was also weird for the extreme violence of the show generally to not invoke feeling or whatnot. I feel like it focused a lot on like the luxury aspects of being violence of just systems that also promote violence or support that, and it made it almost like a corporation. So made like violence like a corporation, something that's like luxury and mundane. um and I think even with the baby thing and the troops they try to do, that was like supposed to be their drop moments or their big oh gosh moments or climax. It also seemed very mundane and kind of obvious as well. So it's like just exaggerated cruelty for the sake of like luxury and in a corporate mundane fact, which kind of compares to the everyday that we feel or go through, every day in a dark sense, but in the same time, um, it was boring like it already is every day. And I think the viewer, may just be me, but I think the viewers are generally, a lot of audience are kind of tired of this luxury violence um, vibe or perspective that people are doing in film and TV. Like they've done it for a while, and I think everyone's kind of like bored of it. Like you've seen it so many times, and I think that's what made BMF kind of better, even though the writing was horrible. Um, the scenes that they put was just like, whoa, really? It was almost like a little embarrassing to even watch, but it was still funny and it was still corny. And then I think the funny and corny that they mix with the violence and also talking about systems that trickle down into big, mean businesses and whatnot, made it seem like just kind of like silly CEO stuff, if that makes sense. Like, oh, this rich families or this these rich business owners are kind of like silly and funny and kind of like almost corny and like narcissistic in a sense, and a little bit just like messy, you know. And also just the storyline of what they're talking about. BMF is just a more relatable storyline regardless of how they execute it or not, because it's something everyone can relate to. Or one of the incidents is something everyone has someone they know that's been through something similar, or vice versa. Or I've heard of things on the block that's something similar. So it more connects to the people, a relatable experience to like the audience that they can like connect or see or understand a little bit more. Um, and the luxury part of it was not seemed like the big part. It seemed like as part of the corny part rather than as part of like something that like uplifts this corporate violence or um, cruelty. So I think even though it's kind of crazy to say and no one would think that, it's still, I would say, definitely BMF definitely was a better show, a better season. Because even if it was like bad, like really bad season, Squid Games, this was its worst season too, but I feel like the dramaticness of the BMF being so bad made it even funny and kind of humorous and like, okay, I remember the drama or whatever that's all going behind it, and that actually adds to the story because all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes is reflected, and that's going to be forever part of the story, rather it was good or bad is already like part of the story and obvious. So now when people watch it years ago, they also have another backstory that kind of amplifies it. Um, of the things that going on with the real life characters as compared to Squid Games. I think people were just kind of also tired of this whole big luxury movement and the whole rich guy is sad thing, what I mean? Because he has so much money. Like, that wasn't relatable, what I mean? All the big money corporate, all the people killing to and doing all this stuff to make money wasn't as not relatable to like a BMF story of like, oh, okay, we're getting robbed or we're, trying to move product or vice versa, especially when you're talking about American audiences and our effects in connection to the war of I guess the word drugs. I wouldn't call it that, but you know what I mean. Our connection to the this business, that business kind of model, rather than the corporate sense of game shows or model of like violent corporate institutions. So I just think that's why it was kind of worse. Squid Games is worse, and I would have never thought that. And BMF was still good, even though because if they after season 6, if they kept making it as shitty as they were doing the couple earlier episodes, they knew everyone would have been freaking pissed, and then people would have stopped watching. So they caught exactly when like people and audience are like, "Yo, you're bullshitting us. Stop bullshitting us." And they stop the bullshit a little bit, and then they bring it back, and you're like, "Okay, you know, and that corniness also made it more relatable because it's like, oh, this is how I think this is a relatable story or storyline or arc or situation. And they're making it on screen kind of corny and funny and a little bit like silly and how they're explaining like the messy situation. But that makes it kind of relatable and more relatable as a film troupe because they're like, oh, these are like real life shit. And on screen, it's kind of funny and like people kind of corny and you don't see like the messy narcissistic kind of side of that that you would see in real life. So it still made it relatable more, even with the corniness. And I think also the message of it all too sees like people who are leader of companies or uh, small businesses, or maybe not small businesses, people leader of like these big companies, like even when they are big, are also all start with like one small business or there's two people, and those people could be silly, they could be freaking messy, they could be freaking, what I mean, not looking as CEOs or a corporation as this big conglomerate worked against that nothing can change, like that whole thing with Squid Games was weird. And I think the baby thing, and we don't want to talk about killing babies, and we already know what the fuck is going on like right now with Palestine and stuff. So I think with all that, it was just like you're not making it better, you're kind of just making this seem like this is another day, especially since that's going on. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I could be like, wow, now I'm just comparing the two because they were also at the same time. They're both thrillers. If you think about it, they're also both thrillers um, made by people of color. If you both think about it as well, that one is more action and one is more violence. You know what I mean? I would say more BMF is definitely more of a crime show, so it'd be crazy to kind of compare it. Compared to Squid Games is more of like a thriller, horror kind of vibe. But I feel like it's worth comparing, and especially in the difference in the budget, and you can tell that they put into the work. So yeah.
Spine. Niggas snitch the cut time. 21. We the Fox 5 gang niggas getting whacked, snitching on mine. Facts. Back it up.